So in this video, I want to just talk about a little maintenance I'm doing with Lightroom and my photos. So I know a lot of people like to keep all their photos on an external disk. I like to keep at least the last several years on my computer, mainly because I access those quite often. And just from a performance standpoint, the cameras I shoot with are pretty high resolution. So just having them local does make things a little bit easier, but it does mean from time to time I do need to move photos from that to my external storage. In my case, I'm using a NAS, and I've got plenty of room out there. And so now that I've copied my photos over, I just want to show you the process that I use to go and make it so Lightroom now refers to those photos over there, and then I can safely delete them from my hard drive. Now everything is also backed up to Time Machine and the cloud and all that. So even if I make a mistake, I do have several ways to recover. So let's take a look at the process that I use, and I'll also talk about why in this case I do something that probably isn't what Adobe recommends, but what I've found with moving this many files, what Adobe recommends doesn't work. So let's jump into it. So in addition to my very messy desktop that you could see here, I've got two Finder windows open. This one on the bottom shows what's going on my NAS. And just a quick overview how I organize things out there, I've got photos, videos, a workshop. So all of my workshop materials are out there as well. And I also have a personal folder and a travel folder that typically has things for basically creating books and that when I travel, something I can share with my wife so she could put her photos in there as well. So what I did was, so from the pictures folder on my Mac, I took the 2023 folder and I copied it to the pictures folder under FHP photos on the NAS. And so if we look over at these and just kind of scroll through, we see that everything is pretty much the same. Some of the folders have some additional naming on them, just to make it easier to find things, although I typically use collections for most of that, but sometimes I add that in there as well. Typically that's happening when I'm traveling. I'll do that on the drive just as one more way to kind of go and organize things. So probably a subject for a future video, but suffice it to say, I'm pretty confident at this point that everything is moved over. So why am I doing this in the first place? Well, if we look at my Mac, I can see I'm down to about 1.5 terabytes of disk space available, or SSD space available. I don't know if you can really call them disks anymore since they don't actually have a physical disk. But at any rate, what I found with Lightroom and Photoshop, especially Photoshop, is they like to have a lot of space. And so ideally, I like to make sure I've got at least a terabyte available, but more like 2. Since I'm at that 1.5 point, that's typically when I'll move some stuff over. So I've already done that. And now the thing is, Lightroom is expecting those files to be over here on the hard drive in pictures under 2023. And what I need to do is I just need to rename that and then open up Lightroom. So right now, if you look, Lightroom is not currently running. And that's kind of the key to this whole thing, is we want to sort of trick Lightroom into not knowing where it is. And then if you saw the previous video I had about what to do if you have missing files, basically going to follow that process again. So let's go ahead and open Lightroom. Before I do that, let's go and rename this. I'm just going to click here, and I'm just going to change that to -1. And I notice I've got a lot of others up there too. They're just old things sitting up there. So I'll probably get rid of those as just part of cleaning some stuff up as well. Just those folders, they aren't everything. Those are actually from a Lightroom class that I teach. They just keep getting recreated. So I do that. So across those folders, there's probably only like maybe know, 30, 40 photos, but I'm redoing that class anyway, so I might as well just zap those as well while I'm at it. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that. And now if I open up Lightroom, what I'm going to see when I look at the library, so when I come over there, I now see this 2023 has this question mark next to it. And so saying folder's missing, please relink it. If I just do a 2-finger click or a right click, the very first option is find missing folder. And I'm just going to come down here to my NAS. It's going and connecting. Go to FHP Photos, Pictures, scroll down to 2023 and hit Choose. And now that I've done that, I can see that if I scroll down, or where is it? If I scroll up rather, under FHP Photos, 2023 is now there. It's got the 21,000 photos. And so everything kind of got fixed up. There's still some other issue I've got going on in Pictures, some missing folder. Probably has something to do with doing an import at some point in there, but not quite sure. I'll chase that down at another time. But that's basically it. So very simple method of doing that. So why didn't I just do that in Lightroom? I could have just as easily dragged that folder up to the NAS and it would have copied it up there, and then I could have gone and deleted it. What I've found is that when you have something that large that you're moving, and maybe it also has to do with the resolution of the photos, I'm not quite sure, Lightroom will end up hanging and stop responding. And I've tried leaving it run for well over a day, and it just doesn't come back. All you could do is kill it. And so you haven't solved the problem. The bad news is you've got some stuff that's moved over, some that hasn't. It just depends on where it hangs up in the process. So I decided several years ago that no, the better way to do it is to actually just have that, or just take care of it externally, and then just deal with it that way. And you can see how quick that was. I mean, that literally took, a few minutes and I was done. So very workable process. The next thing I'll do after that is I will just go and exit Lightroom. I find that Lightroom these last several, I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, it has gotten a little bit more buggy. So I do try to go and leave it. I have it set up. This is kind of an important thing. So if you're not doing this, I have my catalog set to backup every time Lightroom exits. It's always a good idea to get that backup. This way, if something were to happen to your catalog, you're not going to lose a ton of work. And you'll just basically lose a day's worth typically. I try to shut it down every day if I remember. Sometimes I get busy, I forget, but that's kind of my goal. So I'm getting those backups, and I have it set up so that I don't keep a ton of them. I keep maybe half a dozen or so just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to back up. It's going to go ahead do that. It'll do things like check the integrity of the catalog. And the reason I do this after this is I just made kind of a big change to the catalog itself. I changed a lot of pointers to a lot of files. And so I want to make sure I capture that. I also have the version from right before I did this, since I do this every time I exit. So I have a couple of points I can go back to should something have gone wrong and the catalog got corrupted. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be fine. And should be able to move forward from this. So while that's doing that, the thing I could do now is I can come back to my finders, and I can go back to this 2023-1, and I can say move to trash. And so now that's in the trash as well. And I can now go and empty that trash. And it's going to say, wow, that is a lot of stuff. Do you want to permanently do that? Yep, go ahead. I'm pretty confident I did that. And The other thing that's kind of unique about Macs, which I don't quite understand, is after you've deleted it, doesn't show you that updated availability status right away. Sometimes it shows up a day later. The information has been freed. Oh, and there it goes. Now it's back up. So now I've got almost 3 terabytes available. But I have seen that take sometimes over a day before it will update it. So maybe Apple has fixed some things with some of their latest updates to make that a little bit more real time than what it was before. Not quite sure why that was, but it didn't really affect anything, so I didn't really care about it. So anyway, up to 3 terabytes, that put me in pretty good shape for doing whatever kind of editing that I need to do. Thanks for watching. This is actually a little bit of an out of sequence video. Did this basically at the request of one of my clients that was doing something similar, and she needed to just have something she can kind of follow along. So I thought I'd put this together, and instead of just send it to her, I thought I'd just throw it up on the channel just for people to look at. I will be dropping another video next week, so one that is part of that will be in sequence. So check back next week if you want to see that. And that'll be more, I'll be outside doing some shooting with that one. So once again, thanks, and I'll see you next week. Bye.